Well, good morning and happy Motivational Monday. Monday is all about being motivated, getting started, and let's go. All this week we are having a look into the emotions that men go through, how they feel. As you know, because we are women on vibetalkfacingthelionpodcast, there are also men that are important. So we have created a look at the human emotion. Women, children, and yes, men. We want to have men, sons, fathers, and we want to have uncles, and all male call. Why do we want that? So that you get first-hand feeling of what they're going through and how they manage their emotions. So we're going to really look into the men's world. And yes, we can do that. By demographics, we've looked at our podcast and we know that there are more women who listen than there are men. So this is not just a woman's show. We want to hear from you men too, because you are important what you go through. So this week, we're going to be focusing our conversation on the beautiful male species. Do men have emotion? Are men capable of being emotional and yet still be masculine? Let's talk about that. We're all human here, and we all have varied emotions. You know, the old adage is, if you're a man, it's not manly to show emotions. Men are supposed to be strong. They're supposed to be the ones who carry it all on the shoulders. But I want to tell you something. As you look at men, are they any less human than anyone else? I think it's time for us to give our fair share of a look. And our lines are open, ladies and gentlemen. Our line is 661 503 8993. We'd love to hear from you all because we know that you have something that you like to say. We want you to understand, and there's nobody better to help us understand than a man. So when we think about men and their emotions, would it be wrong for them to show emotions? You know, us women are emotional. I've also met some men that were emotional. What do you think, Trish?
Yes, I've met some males that are very, very emotional. My grandpa, he's very emotional. He's not afraid to cry when he's happy or when he feels sad.
Yeah. We see on the backboard that there are men who express emotion, but there are so many more that struggle with their emotions. Because you see, from a very young age, they are told that their boys are men instead of being nurtured as human. You know, I once had little boy fell, and he said, "Get up, stop crying, you're not supposed to cry." And I said, "Why can't he cry?" They were related to me, of course. "Why can't he cry? If it hurts and he wants to cry, let him cry." Because you see, we associate this with masculinity. You can still be a very strong man inside. You can still be a very strong man inside. But now we're going to look at the feelings, and we're going to understand, without being a doctor, because we're no doctors here. I have not had any bachelor degree in thus and so forth. I'm just a life wellness coach. So when it comes to men, how do you recognize ownership of your feelings? How do you recognize that you are important enough to be able to verbalize your feelings? We know that men may feel the same as women feel. How many men do you think are out there that feel alone, that feel frustrated by emotions that they're not able to verbalize? I want you to think about verbalization. And when I say verbalization, when we look at the word verbalization, talking to you men, and if there's women out there, you too are important. Verbalization, what does that mean? What do you think, Trish, on verbalization?
I think verbalization is communicating, speaking out. That's what I think it is.
Yes, yes. In fact, it says the act of saying something out loud. Why are men being or not being able to say something out loud about their emotions without the counterpart being upset? You know, it all starts from mother and father. And the reason why I say that is because through the studies that I've done, being a life coach, wanting to be good at what I do, I've researched it. It starts from the very time that they are young. You know, when fathers are young, they learn at a very early age to verbalize. They're able to speak, as Trish said, and we want to hear them. Their spoken expressions, their thoughts, their ideas, put them in words. Verbalization is the assignment that we are going to focus on today, in being able to put your thoughts, okay, into spoken expression. I want you to draw something, you men. Women, you can do this too, but this week we are going to be focusing on men, fathers, sons, brothers, and uncles. We're going to be talking about that. and verbalizing. I want you to make a poster. I want you to be able to write down what you want to say about something. Pick a topic. Because men are able to rationalize. That's being logical. Men are able to show emotion. So the assignment is that I'd like it if you are a male to verbalize something. Maybe it's something you want to say. Maybe it's a male topic. How do you say it? How do you feel it? When you want to verbalize something, how do you feel? How would you put it in your verbiage? We're talking about that. The intent is expression through what you have said, or expression through what you have not said. You know, I was married to a very quiet man. So one thought. And he was able to verbalize to me what he felt. Everybody thought he was quiet. Why do you suppose that he could be open to me? Because my mom used to always say, oh, he's so quiet. He's so quiet. Why do you think he was able to verbalize to me? Any thoughts on that, guys? Any thoughts?
I think because he trusted you and he knew you would listen. That's what I think.
Safe space. Thank you. That's exactly why. And, back in the day, I understood it now. Because back then, it's like, wow, he really doesn't talk out to people. He only talks to certain people. And Trish is right. Thank you, Trish, is our co-host. Your input means so much to me and our program. Thank you for that. A lot of times people are on shutdown. And I want to speak on this because I feel it's really important now that I understand, now that I have been educated about this. Because I used to call it rude. He says, why is he so rude in front of people? And everybody says, oh, he's so quiet. But really, like Trish said, he trusted, safe space. And when I saw him interact with his father and his grandmother, I began to understand. Looking back, because at the time, I had no understanding. When you become a life coach, you learn to understand your topics. I saw Father mastering and lording over him. And I want to tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. It did not just start that day. I saw him having to care for his grandmother and the ruling and the mastering over him. And when I came into the picture, there was a price to pay. And I'll tell you why. Because I listened to his emotions. One day he told me a story, and I began to deeply think about what that must have been like. The story was about his mother, and there was a big mystery behind his mom's passing. Why am I revealing to you something? Because if there's any men out there, if there's any person out there, I want you to take into consideration the been-throughs. You say, what is been-throughs? I've been through this, and I've been through this. Because you see, we women, and I'm going to say something, since the start of Eve, we have led men. We are very powerful species, but here's what we don't do. And may need to do more of. We want this, we want that, but we need to do more of active listening. When you are actively listening, you are intentionally hearing the verbiage of the man, the male species. You know, we hear women say, he doesn't do this. I have to draw. And I used to say this a lot. I used to say, I have to draw him out of conversation. And even in the bedroom, it's all about what he doesn't do. That's where you have to get together as mutual and speak about that. But first, he must be in a safe place. Are we providing that for him? Remember I said mother and how she passed away? Usually, the first people that we are connected to are our mothers. Naturally so. But if a child has never gotten that, how do they learn? How do they learn from every woman that is going to be in their life, whether it's a teacher, whether it's a bank teller, whether it's, gosh, any woman? You want your man to understand you? Give him understanding. You want your man to talk to you? Talk to him in a way that he will listen. As you say, he doesn't communicate, but are you a good communicator? You see how that works? In order to get him to express thoughts, feelings in words. When we are verbalizing, we must verbalize in words. Because no one is a mind reader, or are you? I might have some mind readers. Right, Trish? We might have some mind readers. But stop being a mind reader. Let them be able to verbalize. Don't stop them. I heard something the other day. Verbalization is not arguing. Verbalization is being able to use expression. And I'm going to keep saying this because we women, we do talk. Most women know how to express themselves, but sometimes there are people who are very demanding of the male species. And you know what we say? We have to be because he's this, he's that, and then we start to humiliate him. Let's try to understand verbalization and what we can get from expression. When we think about speaking and talking, we all like to talk. But I want to ask you guys something, you audience. Have you ever really listened to the conversation with a man and another man? How many of you have heard those conversations? Nobody?
I have.
Yeah. What does it sound like to you? How has that experience been?
What it sounds like to me is, I'm gonna be honest, like male male conversation between another male. Sometimes for me, it sounds kind of uninteresting because I'm not interested into it. But
Yeah.
sometimes it's like, sometimes they say things that I'm like, whoa, I never knew that about them. But they find confinement in another male understanding what they're going through. So those are my two takes on it.
Exactly. Exactly. Thank you so much. You're welcome to call in, guys, and welcome to Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast as we visit men and their emotions. Yeah. Being able to hear their conversation and them having a confident. Women normalize having a confident. We all have a confident, someone that we talk to, someone that we feel that we can go to and talk to. Men need that. Yes, in the wedding vows are between the two people. But on the outside of that, they have interest. They have needs, they have wants. They're learning, especially if they haven't come from a solid background, they're learning to be able to verbalize, to express, to speak forth words. And I say this, and I'm starting out this week with communication and verbalization because it is an important part of a man's emotion as we look into it. We always want to think about the words. Let him be able to tell you how he's feeling and not you tell him how he's feeling. Because after all, they're his feelings, aren't they? When you're able, as a man, to express your emotions in healthy ways, you're able to connect with yourself. Vibe Talk is always about connection to you. You know, everyone that I know has been in a relationship. If you're not in a relationship now, you have a relationship with your friends, your co-workers, and the list goes on and on. But how many of us, when we're making connection with ourselves, how many of us are happier? How many of us are able to make good decisions, better decisions, best decisions? You see, that's what happens when the male species is able to connect with himself, being sure of himself. And I'm going to tell you, when I look at the male species, it's a lot of body. Trust me. And boy, boy, boy. But there is nothing like a man who can speak to you and express to you who he is and what he stands for. I don't know about you guys, what you love in a man, but I love a man that's solid like that. I love a man that is not overconfident, but sure of himself. When we express our emotion, we want people to know who we are, what our feelings are, why we're feeling that way. Allow a man, the man in your life, to be able to do that. And I say this to mothers, wives, girlfriends, please, because it's so important. It's important because it's going to intensify relationships. It's going to be able to make communication more interesting. And the more that you listen, the more that he will talk. You see, going back to the onset of our conversation here today is what I learned through my ex-husband. And the connection was like being soulmates. And of course, no marriage, no relationship is perfect. Communication, verbalizing, putting your thoughts into words, what you want to say. And by the way, the assignment that I just gave, it's not school, but I want you to be able to verbalize something that you have not been able to verbalize on a card. Because now we've learned how important verbalization is, being able to speak. We're going to be right back after these messages. Stay with us as we take a look at men and their emotions. We'll be right back. It's Trish, your co-host for vibetalkfacingthelionpodcast, podcast, and here's where to find us and our information. We'll accept donations you can send it to our Cashapp, which is vibetalkfacingthelionpodcast. You can send us voice messages as well through Spotify and our Right Connect, which is 661-503-8993, which is the first information that you'll see on our YouTube channel. It's also the first resource of updated videos along with any up-to-date videos or reels or any posts that we're doing. Instagram mostly promotes the positive quotes and reels of our podcast and our radio shows. Vibe Talk After Dark radio show, which happens Saturday night. Does have a specific time, and our topic is what song can we play for you? And that is also hosted by our
You can find most of that on iHeartRadio and our Spotify.
We are back, and thank you for joining us here on Motivational Monday. And by the way, happy July 1st. Happy summer. We're talking about men and their emotion. And Trish, you can chime in at any time. Do men get depressed like women? A funny thing happened, and I laughed. This happened yesterday. I was talking to my sister, and she'd come over to my house, and she said, maybe I could be, she said, it's so hot in here, and you have the air on, and where I'm sitting, I can't get enough air. And I said, are you going through menopause? And then I immediately followed that up with, have you been through menopause yet? And her husband, my brother-in-law, said, yes, we've been through menopause. I thought that was so funny that he said that. Why did I react to that? Because that shows you that the women and their feelings affects the men. That was a perfect example of men being affected by menopause. When I was pregnant, my ex-husband said, I think I'm having morning sickness. And that is a thing, just so that you all know. They go through emotions of feeling what you feel. They go through real emotion. Do they experience depression? Yes. Some have hidden depression. At the time, I didn't know it. I had miscarried, and my husband would cry by himself. I remember having a miscarriage and seeing my ex-husband cry profusely. I would like you all to give the men in your life safe space so that they can have permission to feel. How many of us need a safe space to feel? A safe space. Just because he's in the bathroom for a long time, or just because he's quietly by himself, doesn't mean, and ladies and gentlemen, I want you to really think about this, doesn't mean that he's got cheating going on or that he's got distrust of some sort going on. Give him permission to feel. It's so important. We think about our own vulnerability. When you all first start coming to Vibe Talk or hearing Vibe Talk, you were probably not willing to give yourself permission to feel. But then as you trusted me as your life coach or listening to me, I ask you all to give yourself permission to feel. Today, you knowing what that now means, I want you to to give the males in your life permission to feel. Because we're so busy worrying about them being tough, worrying about them being masculine, but they feel too. There's someone in my life that I noticed that he was not feeling well. And when you see that they're not feeling well, you can see it in their outer appearance as well. Men stay quiet because they feel vulnerable at times. If they say anything, people will look at them differently. And my heart really started to feel what I saw. Men are vulnerable as we are. They suffer, they feel unloved, they feel bitter, they may feel happiness, they feel emotional ranges of some sort. Now, if you're listening to this podcast today, I would like you to write the word feel, F-E-E-L. The word feel. And I would like for you to start writing down 5 feelings or 5 ways that you feel at this very present moment. See, we stay in the present. You say, I want to feel. We talked about men and their feelings and them having confidence because we all have a confidant. We all have it, and if you don't, maybe get one. You know those men caves? Why do you think men have men caves? What do you think, Trish?
I think they have them to spend time with themselves,
Yeah.
to be alone.
Yeah. Yeah. Men cave is exactly what it is. To get away and be alone. And I'm going to tell you, men, every man should have that. Even in your own home. Because you need that time just like a woman does. Being able to feel is quite natural because we are born to feel. When we disconnect from feelings, that, ladies and gentlemen, is not finding the key to ourselves. We don't want you to feel emotionally handicapped in any type of way, emotionally disabled. We want you, when you write the word feel or feelings, to be able to address it. First with yourself and then with those who are in your life. I want you to dare, I dare you, you male species, to feel the good, to feel the bad, or the challenge, and the most ugliest thing. I want you today to start with your right to feel. Your right to be able to look back at your life and say, I felt that. Because you're going to go through ranges of emotions. We've learned that so much in our podcast. I want you to understand your verbiage, how your brain sends a message to your heart. Do you know what those messages or feelings are? something upset you. I want you to be able to come home, and when your counterpart says, "How was your day?" don't you dare run away from fine when it really wasn't fine. You know, you can say things like this. I had a really bad day. It was the most worst day I've ever had in my life. That's okay. Good morning, Alex, and thank you for joining us as we're discussing men and emotions. And if you're a man, what emotions are you feeling right now? Or you could say something like this, my day was really beautiful. Don't come home empty-handed when someone asks you how you're feeling. Have something in your hand, a word. And that's why I want you to do the feelings thing and naming 5 things that you feel presently. Feeling something and not empty. Because you're human. Your heart was made to feel every emotion there ever was. I want you to be able to understand this. I want you to feel free. What does freedom look like to you when it comes to expressing yourself? Sometimes it's a leading cause, the non-expression of why relationships break up. I want you to feel free. I want you to be able to think about your being able to opening up and finding your safe space. You see, the cave, man cave, is the safe space for people to be alone, to gather your thoughts, to hang out. And that's why the word feel, every time you look at it and you're having an issue with your feelings and your emotions, when you see the word feel, you can say, how do I feel today? Because if you can't understand it between yourself, the verbiage of how do I feel, if you don't understand that, don't expect anyone else to understand it. I really want you to think about that. You can still be the person who listens. You can still be the man of the house. But it's okay this day to have real and raw emotion. We're going to be right back with Trisha's Treasures. Don't go anywhere as we're taking a look all this week at men and their emotions. We're going to be right back. We are back with Trisha's Treasures. Trish?
I admire when when a guy is honest about his feelings and how he how he is as a person, regardless of if it seems like a person is judgmental. And I see it in a scenario where there's a heavy box, and everyone's trying to lift it up. All the guys are trying to lift it up, but it's too heavy. And one guy says, I can't lift this box. It's too heavy. It needs two people. I admire that because he was honest and says, I need a little help with lifting this box because it's too heavy and I'm going to hurt myself if I try to lift this box by myself. And that takes a lot of strength to do because me as a woman, I struggle with asking for help as well. I struggle with if there's something heavy, I struggle to ask my brothers for help. But sometimes my brothers are like, it's okay, let me handle it. And he lifts it up for me. And then I do get embarrassed because I'm the older sister. I should be able to lift it. But my brother he's saying it's okay. You don't have to do that. Let me help you. And it's okay if a guy says to another guy, it's okay. Let me help you. It takes two of us to get it done. And that's great. You can do so much things together if you express that you need help, if you verbalize your struggles and the way that you feel. And it's hard to do. It's hard. It seems very hard at first, but when you start, it becomes easier. Because when you start, it becomes a practice. And when you practice, it becomes something that is within you. It becomes natural. So whatever you're going through, guys, whatever you're going through, it's okay to be verbal with your emotions. You can do it.
Thank you so much for that. Trisha's Treasures can be found by hashtagging Trisha's Treasures or going into Trisha's Treasures on our YouTube. She also sings, so go and check out her music. Back to the men. If you think that we have not brought up enough topics, we decided to, Trisha and myself as co-host and host, we've decided to take a look at men and their emotions. Tomorrow we will look at another facet that is a fact of life. Men and stress and how you are dealing with it. We're asking that for this entire week that you call in, please, and that you can express yourself. And we leave that to everybody. Call in. We especially want to hear from the men, how they're doing, and asking yourself, how are you doing? Being able to face yourself. And yes, we're going to talk about honesty and dishonesty in relationships. How men are faring with that. I want to say thank you to you, Trish, and thank you for any audience member out there. Sometimes Trish and I, we laugh in our meetings because we think no one's listening because they're not in our virtual rooms, but we've been proven wrong. And our numbers are wowing me. So if you're a man out there, feel free, call in. We'll answer the call. We'll put you on. We want to hear your experience as to how you're dealing with your emotions. I want to motivate you all this week. We're going to look at the challenges. We're going to look at the transformation of men. We are focusing our attention on if you're out there, let us know how you're doing. Our last question of the day. What did you learn from our podcast on men and emotions today? And how do you feel about it? Trish, can I start with you?
Yes, you can. I learned that guys need understanding. They need lots of understanding, and if they can't find it in talking to a woman, they actually talk amongst each other and try to understand where each other's coming from. And that is sort of a therapy to them because they are bonding and understanding each other. And this made me feel educated because I love to have empathy and understanding towards guys and their emotions. So that's how I felt about this podcast today.
It triggered a lot for me um, in relationships because I only had really one that had felt like they didn't have a freedom to express because of being so bogged down with people that were role models to them. And I was able to share my story, hoping that you all can learn from that, draw strength from that. And I've also learned that the man cave is for that purpose, for them to gather their thoughts, and that it's okay for men to have a confidant, someone that they feel they can talk to. And like Trish, I too felt more educated. So we hope that you're going to join us tomorrow as we face more of men. Men and stress is tomorrow. I want you all to have a great day. I want you also to know that if you've come here and we're ending our podcast, that we are on Facebook Live at Vibe Talk. You can hear it in its full range. And don't forget, join our YouTube page, please, and thank you. I don't see what the comment says before we go, but I'm going to look right now. I want you guys to be able to know where we are. So if you jump on our social media pages, you'll always know when we're live. It's not every day that we're live, but this week we're going to hear from you, and we're dealing with men all week. Join in. It's a positive movement. Thank you all, and we hope that you guys have enjoyed the program. Go look for our streaming. And thank you. May your day be as motivating on this Monday morning. Have a good day. And thank you. Thank you to my amazing co-host. Thank you. Thank you. We'll see you later. I don't want you just to make a resolution. I want to think about I was really about the moves that they might get my vibe with it. I really took the fun with it. Really love the ride with it. Really got the vibe with it. It's the fun with it. I really love the ride with it. You can really see you're really you. When you get the vibe with it. Yeah. When you get the vibe with it. Yeah.